Hi, my name's David Newton. Today we're going to be talking about how you can actually teach the people that come along to your seminar or workshop rather than merely lecturing them. Now, stick with me all the way through to the end because some of these techniques may be a little bit uncommon for you, particularly if you're new to running seminars and giving talks, but they will give you a lift if you look at your content from a different point of view. So rather than just continue on, let's dive straight in and get straight into the content we've got right here. The problem that a lot of people have when they start out with giving talks and giving seminars and in their great earnestness to try and educate people or run a business seminar of some sort is that they wind up lecturing people anything and everything that they can think of to fill up the time. If they're given 10 minutes to give a talk, they'll fill it entirely up with just every fact that they can think of. And to some degree, facts can be good, and this probably might be good for your confidence, but it won't teach the audience very much. As I've told people before, information alone won't help them to learn. You've got to give them a little bit more than that in order to progress it further. So, try this. Educational games. Now, what I've found works really well with people is to break up your lesson into something that can be a game or something that you can have opposing teams or multiple teams within your class, and to give them a game of trying to, might be dreaming up a list, it might be playing an actual game, it might be going out and finding some information and bringing it back and see who can bring back the most amount of information on a particular subject or a field study out on the street. Some kind of a game will actually make it interesting. And you can even do this as a classroom itself. And to look at through different types of games, they can teach people a metaphor, a skill, a thought process, or even the process of what you're actually trying to teach them can be made into a game format. Educational demonstration. Now, the thing with a lot of teaching is looking at pretty pictures, looking at lots of words on slides isn't really enough. Sometimes you actually have to get your hands dirty. You actually have to show people something that is going to help them learn and understand directly. It could be a painting class whereby you're showing where the brush strokes actually go. It might be something where you're working with food and you need to teach people, here's how you break the egg, here's how you actually beat the egg in a particular way, here's how you whisk the cream in a special way, here's how much flour we actually use, and by the way, it only looks this much. That type of thing. An actual demonstration gives people a three-dimensional viewpoint on the topic that you've got. And some things can't be taught merely by words and a fancy slide deck alone. You need to actually demonstrate how things work, how the nuts and bolts get screwed together, how the engine starts, and to show people something directly with their own eyes, and they'll say, ah, that's how it works. That's what they want to know. A demonstration can help them with that. Educational case study. Now, I find educational case studies really valuable. In fact, I still remember from my economics classes that I did way back when I was a teenager, I still remember studying companies, putting the details down into a whole lot of pages, finding out the facts and figures, finding out who did what, when the company started, what they're doing now, what problems they've gone through, and where they're currently at with a lot of other companies that they've bought out. I still remember a lot of those facts in my head after decades. And you know why? Because an educational case study drives people to learn a lot more than just merely picking it up from you just with a whiteboard and maybe a fancy slide deck, as I keep saying. You've got to actually give people something where they've got an assignment. They've got to go out and find that detail and find that info. Sure, give them a few broad guidelines of what they need to do and a defining objective at the end of that case study of what they need to do. But when you do that, you can actually teach them something because they can dredge up the facts themselves, find out, assemble the details, put it into something meaningful, and presto, they've discovered something, and maybe a whole lot of different things in the process of that educational case study. Now, of course, educational case studies can work two ways. You can present an educational case study to your classroom and say, here's company A and here's company B, or here's individual A and here's individual B from two different backgrounds and so forth, and use that to have some kind of an objective at the end. But what I think is more useful is to get the classroom participants to do an individual case study themselves and find out those facts themselves and come to the aha moment when they come to the objective of the case study at the end of doing that assembly of information. Time to think. Now, it almost might sound a little bit opposite to what you're learning, is that people need time to think. But yes, they actually do. And this can apply particularly to maybe even a one-day seminar. It might even involve some time to think, maybe for a 2-hour or 3-hour or 4-hour lecture, where you've got to give people a little bit of a time to break away and think about what they're learning. If all you're doing is just simply inputting data into them all the time, they won't have time to piece that info together in their head. And as a matter of fact, you probably might have their head spinning too much. You might need to look at it a different way. It's best to give it in broken little bits and pieces and in different ways. So, for example, the tea break time that you have, if it's a half-day seminar, you could let them go free range and simply go out to any one number of 2 or 3 different cafes in the local area. In fact, don't even tell them where the next cafe is. Just say, we've got a break time now, folks, and I'll expect you back here in half an hour. And then give them a bit of time to breathe. Give them a bit of time to do something and go somewhere. And most people will need that time, but when they come back, I'll tell you this much, they'll be that much more refreshed. They'll be that much more ready to take in the info. They may have even had a few aha moments when they went for a break or went to the bathroom or something like that. The ideas can pop into their head in magical kinds of ways, but you will only find this out if you give them time to think. Report to the class. Now, you can do this in many different formats. The whole objective here is whether it's a report to the entire class, the whole seminar or workshop that you're running at the time or retreat, get them to do some kind of report, and it might even be to a small group that you've actually got, or even if it's a group of 2 people, smaller than your small group, because you can break your classroom down to lots of different sizes. So by reporting to class, you're giving them an objective of saying, find out this or discover this or ask this or have a discussion about this with your workshop buddy or something like that, and then report to the class what your findings are. And that could even be an open-ended. It could be an opinion. It could be, here's what I've discovered, or I've got a new point of view, I'm reporting to class, or here's this diagram that I've come up with in collaboration with my workshop buddy or my small group. So a report to class can be useful, and it gives your participants a chance to be a part of the lecture by lecturing themselves, by teaching something to the rest of the class, and makes them feel valuable that they're contributing something back to the class, which is really important. Small group exchange ideas. Now, when you're running it might be a large class, it might be some kind of a big seminar, something like that, having small groups inside your classroom can actually help people with exchanging ideas. And a lot of people have a lot of stuff when they're coming along to these events and they want to get it off their chest. So you need to give them some kind of a platform where they can do that by breaking them up into small groups and to say things to their other small group members, gives them that opportunity to express themselves. And a lot of people, you wouldn't believe how much people are wanting to express their ideas. they're wanting to get these ideas out, and they're also wanting to test to see if an idea works with a small group themselves. It might be the whole reason why they came along to that seminar, that workshop in the first place, is they're wanting to test out ideas and see if they're on the right track. They might want to hear from other people and see if their ideas match with those people, or even if they've got the same problems as them, which usually shocks a lot of people when they come to these events. They say, oh, I'm maybe not so different as all the other people in this group anyway. And that's the beauty of running a small group. You'll never get this by lecturing people, by the way. You're only going to get this by letting people have some kind of an intimacy amongst themselves to share and express these ideas, and then they can report that back to the rest of the group. So it's another way to help with their learning. And usually a lot of these learnings that happen are at a much more deeper level than you think they are. But they won't get a chance to express this unless they express it away from you and in a small group, where they won't feel like they're judged or judged by the rest of the group, that kind of thing. They need to be in a safe environment. This is exciting stuff. This is what helps them learn. Solve a puzzle. Now, by using a solve a puzzle type of technique, you're giving people something that's going to be tough, a little bit of teeth in it. It'll give people something to nut out, something to really, like, once again, some people come along to events because they really do want to learn something. They want to learn something that's gritty. They want to learn something that's tough. And if you don't give them that chance to solve something, they won't feel like as though they've had that muscle exercised, and that toughest muscle is between their ears, their brain. They need to have some kind of way of doing it. And it could be even a group exercise whereby it could be a 2-person small group, it could be a 5-person small group, and it could even be a class as a whole. But if you give them something where they've got to solve something, and this could even be incorporated into their overnight homework if it's a multi-day event. So think up something whereby that you don't actually have a direct answer. There could be multiple ways of looking at something, but something that's got a little bit of teeth to it. It's not going to be worth it to them if you throw them a puzzle that's going to be dead easy that they can solve in 10 minutes. Sure, you might be able to use that as a metaphor to get things going, but where you're really going to get traction is to give them something that's going to take a little bit longer than 10 minutes to solve, but solvable, and you could give them some directions as to how that's going to be solved. So think about what your content is, and think about something whereby you can teach it by using a metaphor as solving a puzzle or solving an issue, or getting them to report back to the class and say, here's my presentation on how this could be done better, blah, 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 blah. And that way they'll feel like as though, hey, wow, we've got a lot of value out of this. Rethink your learning content. What I implore you to do is to go back over all of your material and look at how you can do things differently. Break it up. Look at it completely from a top-down point of view. Look at it from the learner's point of view. Try and find out different ways how you can express your material and get audience interaction in your seminars and workshops. What experiences have you had with working with audiences? Have you been able to get better audience interaction? What ideas do you use to get your audience learning rather than merely writing down a whole lot of data? Write some of the comments in the comments below what you think that could be. It might help the rest of the people here to understand something about different educational content. And while you're at it, have a look at some of the videos that we've got here, which could help you with your seminars, your workshops, your events, in order to improve your business. And please think of subscribing, because we put out content like this each week. This is David Newton speaking. I look forward to seeing you at the next episode real soon.